Happy Tuesday, everyone, and thank you for joining me. Hi Sylvia. Thanks for joining me on Tuesday lunchtime. This is just a quick lunchtime live, lunch break live. I'm just going to share with you a quick and simple, well, I don't know whether it is quick and simple, but it's a really pretty and slightly different card today. I'm not going to come to you with many messages or a long session today, so just a quick in your lunchtime. Maybe you've got your packed lunch. I've just made a pan of butternut squash. I had to think then what it was that I'd used. Butternut squash soup, and I can smell it and I'm really hungry, so I'm not going to keep everyone long because I want to go and get my soup as well. So without further ado, I'm actually going to spin my camera straight round and get on with the demonstration and maybe some messages as we go along. So let's have a look. I've got a feeling that my camera stand has just got a wobble on, so I'm holding on to it. Let's spin you round. Here we go. Let's pop you down onto my desktop. Here we are. Oh, hi, I can see Jackie's joined me. Got a couple of people watching. I think that might be Barbara. Hi, Barbara. Nice to see you. So a quick reminder, as always, this is where you can find me across social media. And also I've just set up my new YouTube channel. And it hasn't got a funky @Izzy'sCraftyBees address yet, because apparently I need 100 followers before I can actually have that address. So I'm going to post a link on my Facebook feed, and if anybody wants to give me a subscription on my new YouTube channel, that would be brilliant. And just a reminder that a subscription doesn't mean that you have to pay for anything, because often we think subscription, it's a paid for thing, and it isn't. So if you just wouldn't mind giving me a subscribe on my YouTube channel, but I will post a link, so don't panic about that at the moment. Host code currently is this number here, so jot it down, or if you're watching back, just pause and make a note of that. If you are placing an order currently, probably till the end of January this host code will last. If your order is over £25 and you're placing your order online via my shop, and it is under £150, please use the host code and I will send you a free gift next month. Thank you. That's that. So let's get on with the fun stuff. I've got this little card I wanted to share with you. It's a little bit different. So it uses designer series paper to actually make the card, and you have a pocket, which I thought would be useful if you were sending a birthday. For a birthday, you could stick some money in. I've got fumble fingers, what's wrong with me? You could pop a gift card in there, or some money. It just fits a tenner nicely, or if it's a 20, maybe it'd fold. Who knows? You could hold the folding, slot the cash in. I also thought it might be nice to use as a note card. You could maybe pop a short greeting here and write a longer letter and pop it in the pocket. I think as we're all sending a bit more happy mail at the moment to our friends and family, that might be quite a nice different type of card. So I'm going to show you how I made it, and I'm going to change up the colours. Before I do so, I will tell you which stamp set and punch I used for this one. So it's actually the Posted For You punch bundle, which is in the main catalogue, so the annual catalogue, and the item number is 154075, and that costs £29.50, and that is actually a stamp set and a punch as a bundle. So you get both of those as a bundle, and that's what I used on this card, including the sentiment inside. So that's all from that bundle. But today for this card that I'm going to do, I'm going to change it up, and I'm actually going to use a different bundle from the annual catalogue again, and I'm going to actually use the Dress to Impress, or All Dressed Up bundle, which includes the Dress to Impress photo polymer stamp set and dies that you can use in your die cutting machine. So I'm going to change up the colours, and use a different stamp set. Oh, and let me tell you about the dressed up bundle. So that's £33. Let me get it back in. It's £33, and the item code for this bundle is 151665, and that's actually available from the annual catalogue as well. So I'm actually going to use some of the free paper. So this is free paper from the Celebration offer that's on during January and February, and it's this pack of designer series paper which you can get for free when you spend £45, and that £45 spend is across all of the catalogues. So the annual catalogue, the seasonal or January to June mini catalogue. And so just before, actually, I just want to point something out, just before we move on to making the card. When you look through your Celebration brochure, it could be, if you're a newbie, quite confusing to look at this page and see this product uses a free designer series paper, or this project, should I say, uses a free designer series paper. And it sort of encourages you to buy a collection of items that are listed to make this project or these projects, these cards. And somebody pointed out to me, who's fairly new, I think, that it was quite confusing. They thought that you had to place the order for all of these things listed in order to get this paper for free, which is, when I looked at it with that pair of eyes, I thought, gosh, yes, actually, that could be misleading if that's how you read this page of the brochure. I want to make it very clear that you can get these papers for free with a qualifying spend, which is £45 from any of the catalogues. So this little symbol here tells you that. Free with a £45 purchase. So anyway, that. Hopefully that clears that up in case anyone else out there was looking at it from that angle. So I'm actually going to use this piece of DSP, which is different to this one. I'm just going to move that sample to one side, and I'm going to use a card base that has the same colour in the designer series paper. And in this case it is Misty Moonlight. So I'm going to use some Misty Moonlight blue, I'm going to use some Whisper White card, and I'm going to use a piece of black because the background of this pattern is black. So they're the items I'm going to use. And if I bring in my sample, you'll see that the card base is actually just a single layer, so no folded card base as usual, and the fold is made with the designer series paper. So let's move on and I will tell you the measurements. So I'm going to bring in my trimmer, and I'm going to trim my card base to size to start with. I'm going to just take a seat while I do that, so I'm not watching comments at the moment, but keep your comments coming, and I do always go back to any comments once I've finished, so if you have any comments at all, please keep them coming. So this card base needs to measure 15 longest measurements, I'm just trimming a little bit off there, and 10.5, which is your normal card base measurement. Ordinarily we would actually cut a piece of A4 to 15 and we would score at 10.5 to give us that fold, but I'm just going to use one layer as my card base. And while I've got my trimmer out, I'm just going to trim a piece of Whisper White for the inside, and I'm actually just going to trim myself a piece. I think I'm just going to go 8 centimetres by whatever width this came out of my scrap drawer, and it happens to be 11. So I'll use that inside as my piece to write a greeting on, and I'm going to use this piece to stamp with. I'm going to then take my large piece of designer series paper, which measures 12 inches by 12 inches, which is just over 30 centimetres, and I'm actually going to trim that down to 10 centimetres. What am I talking about? I'm not. I'm going to trim it down to 14 centimetres. Good grief. my head in gear. I'm going to trim it down to 14 centimetres. I'm going to pop that piece to one side, and this is the piece I'm going to work on. So you can see 14 is just narrower than my card base, so it will allow me to have a border all the way around. And now I'm going to move my cutting blade out of harm's way, and I'm going to use my scoring, I want to call it a blade, my scoring tool on my trimmer. Am I still in shot? No. Let me just move that down. So my scoring tool is the light grey one, and my cutting blade is the darker one, the brown one. I've moved out of the way. So I'm actually going to score. Let me move that into camera shot, which means it's just hanging off my desk, which is a bit naughty. So I'm going to score at 10 centimetres and then 20 centimetres, so I can either pull out my arm, which goes right across my desk and really gets in the way, or I can use this score line and just line it up to 10 centimetres here and score again at 10. And now I'm going to move that score line that I've just made to 10 centimetres there, and there'll be a tiny bit that I need to trim off, so I'm going to just trim that little last bit off there. So I've now got my scores like so. Now you need to decide which way out you want your pattern, and I actually want my pattern on my card to be like so. So I want my outside pattern to be the roses and my inside pattern to be these little flowers. So it makes more sense if these little flowers are going kind of upwards. So I'm now just deciding, it's pretty omnidirectional, but it kind of makes more sense to my eye to have those flowers pointing upwards. So my next trim is going to be a diagonal across here. So I'm going to take a trim from the top left once I've got my inside direction where I want it, so pointing the right way, from top left to bottom right to the first score. So I'm going to pop that back on my trimmer. My top left point is in the trimming gully, and my score line is in the trimming gully, and I'm going to put my guide down. Now when I press down on the guide, that holds the paper nice and firmly. I'm going to just trim that piece off the diagonal so that when I fold that down I get the start of the pocket, and then I can flip this piece and adhere it to my folded piece to form that pocket in that coordinating double-sided way. So that's the kind of recipe for the card itself. I'm just going to move my trimmer out of the way and we can start to have a look at assembling. And I need to give a call out to another demonstrator, and I think she's from Canada. She's called Rita. I need to double check actually where she's located, but I picked her accent up as being Canadian, and her Facebook page is Incredible, so I-N-K, Incredible Art with Rita. And I saw her demonstrate this on her Facebook page and I really loved it. Rita didn't do the second part of the diagonal. She used this piece on another project, but I really liked just flipping it over and forming that double piece, made a deep, kind of like a safer pocket, or a pocket that would keep anything inside. So let's have a look at assembling what we've done so far. I'm just going to take my bone folder and give those creases an extra burnish. And now I'm going to glue my DSP onto my card base. So I'm going to check I've got it the right way round, because it's going to open like this with my pocket up at the top. And I'm going to put my glue on the back. And I'm going to use Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue. And we don't need a terrific amount, just a bead around the edge and a squidge in the middle. And I'm going to stick that down. Good grief, I hope you're all keeping warm. My hands are freezing. I think I've got a bit of a shake because my hands are a bit cold. Oh, there we go. So that's that stuck down nicely. Now I'm going to form this pocket, and very carefully all I need to do with this one is pop a thin, make sure I'm still in shot, yay, a thin bead of glue along this left edge, and that's all I need to form the top piece of the pocket. Of course, you could choose to have your second part of your pocket inside and your first part on the outside. In fact, I might do that. I was just thinking that as I glued it down for a change. So before I stick this one down, I'm going to actually flip that over, and I'm going to put a thin bead of glue along the short edge and the long edge. And again, you just need a thin bead of glue, and you need it as close to the edge as you can. So let's just pop that. I'm thinking that looks quite cute, and I'm taking it close to the fold but not right onto the fold. I'll just give that a press down. And now I can fold this one down that I've got my thin bead of glue along that short edge, and that forms my new pocket. I've just got a little bit of excess glue there, so I'm just going to rub that off with my glue eraser. That's jolly good. So I've now got my new pocket, and just to prove it, let me get my tenner out, and I'll just slide my tenner in the new pocket. Someone's going to have a nice birthday, aren't they? Mind you, what does 10 quid buy us these days? Not a lot. So now we've got our card base made, and we can do some decoration. And this one I just decided to decorate with a couple of pieces and a sentiment. But this one I'm going to decorate with some stamping. I'm going to use a punch, and I'm going to use this fancy label punch. I'm just going to punch one of those in the same coordinating blue, which is that Misty Moonlight, yes. And I'm going to use the rose. I really loved that this DSP has these roses, and this stamp set has a rose that's very similar. And I'm going to use the larger image from the stamp set, and I'm going to stamp on this label with the same colour. So I'm going to use Misty Moonlight, and I'm actually just going to find a piece of, oh, it doesn't really matter. I was going to try and protect my work surface, but actually this work surface, ready for a change, it's looking a bit scruffy. So I'm actually going to stamp slightly off so my leaves are going off, and then I'm going to twist my stamp round and stamp again. And then I'm just going to do another one over here, and you'll see why I've left this corner fairly free of stamping, because I'm actually going to put something else over the top there. So that's that one. I'm going to stamp, and I'm going to bring in my stamping pierce mat here. I'm going to stamp on some Whisper White, the perfume bottle from the stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it in Memento black outline. I'm going to give that a really good input. And the reason I'm using my Stamp and Pierce mat is because I'm using a photopolymer stamp, and the photopolymer stamps are stuck straight to your block, unlike red rubber stamps, which stick to the block but have this layer, I don't know if you can see that, this layer of sponge that the red rubber sits on. So when you stamp, you actually get some cushioning. But with photopolymer stamps that are lovely and clear, you can see straight through your block and see exactly where you're stamping for positioning. There is no foam between, so we actually give the cushioning by using the foam mat underneath your piece. Now for most of the stamping, as you saw with the little image, it didn't matter because it's a small surface area and I got good coverage. But when you have a large surface area stamp, if you don't use the foam mat, you may get some areas that just don't come into contact with your paper, some areas of the stamp which just don't come into contact with your paper because there's an uneven surface perhaps that you're stamping on, and they just don't touch. So that's why we use the Stampin' PS mat. So now we've got that image stamped and I've got my label. We're starting to get some images to decorate our card with. I'm just going to run this through with the coordinating die. I'm going to use my cutting machine, and I'm not going to bring it onto my desk because it's just quicker for me to turn to the side. I've got an L-shaped workspace, so I'm just going to cut it over here. And it's just a bit quicker to run that through. And here we are. I've got my perfume bottle. So now I've got two elements to decorate my card. I just need a sentiment. So I'm actually going to use some black cardstock. And I've stolen the sentiment. No, I haven't. No, I haven't. I've stolen the sentiment for the inside. I'm actually going to stamp Hello Fabulous from the stamp set, and I'm going to stamp that onto black card, and I'm going to heat emboss it with white heat embossing powder. So I've got my Versamark ink, and I've got my white embossing powder, which I always keep in a box. I'm sure I've told you this before. I'm just going to take the tub. It's the little tub that the powder comes in. I just pop to one side because I've got a plastic teaspoon in my box. I'm just going to prepare that ready. So I'm ready with a teaspoon of embossing powder. And I'm going to stamp using Versamark ink. It's a nice sticky ink. I'm going to stamp clear sticky ink onto black, and I'm going to sprinkle it with embossing powder and tap the back to tap off any excess. And you can see where static's been because I didn't use my anti-static rubber, so I'm going to take a paintbrush and just brush that off very carefully. If I'd have used my anti-static bag, I wouldn't have needed to do that. I'll give it a blow. And I'm going to actually trim this, fussy cut it very carefully anyway, so there we go. So I'm going to just heat emboss that now. Let me just pop those to one side. The reason I absolutely love to keep my embossing powders in a box like this is that once I've done my pouring, I can just pop the lid on and move it straight out of the way. I don't have to start faffing and tipping it back into a tub. So here we go, I've got my heat embossing tool, my heat embossing gun. I'm going on full heat, and I'm just going to heat that up. And then I can see. And you can heat from the top, or you can heat from the bottom. It doesn't matter. It's the heat that changes the actual embossing powder from powdered plastic to melted plastic. And there we are. Put that tool to one side. So now we can see I've got a shiny, let's just see if I can get the camera to focus on that, a shiny embossed sentiment, and I'm going to just quickly fussy cut. Now some of you might think that fussy cutting sentiments might be a bit too, well, fussy I guess, but don't dismiss it because it can give you a really nice different look. It's great to use a punch to punch out a sentiment, and it's great to use a die, but just for something a bit different every so often I like to actually fussy cut a sentiment. And we'll just go straight across there. So that just makes it a little bit different, a bit more fun. So now I can see, let's assemble this. Which way round should we do it? So if I put my label there, my perfume bottle on top, and maybe just group the whole thing together. I could even cover up the the parfum. I could cover that up with Hello Fabulous, and that kind of just comes together. So I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and adhere those pieces down. So what I'm going to do, it's always the same with embossing powder, bits fly everywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this label flat down onto my card. So let's just use some multi-purpose glue for that. I'm just putting a squiggle on. We don't have to fuss too much. Now, where's that perfume bottle going to go? Is it best that way round? Or that way round? I think I'm just going to stick it on. Let's just stick it on. So I'm going to stick it on about a third of the way across from the left. I'm going to pop up my perfume bottle using some dimensionals, and I'm going to actually choose to use these black dimensionals for this project, and I'm not going to go too mad with them. 1 or 2 is just enough. Now a little tip, again, I'm sure I've explained this before, if you give it a squish with your thumbnail, it just starts the edges peeling up, so it's a lot easier to get them off. And just pop that there. And I'm going to pop the sentiment straight on top. So I will just use multi-purpose liquid glue on the back of that. And I'm not going all the way across because some of that's actually hanging over. And I will just cover up that parfum. Let's have a look. Now I could have coloured in my perfume bottle, but I actually quite like the monochrome effect of just the black and white. I could have used a pop of colour underneath and picked up the green colour, which I believe is shaded spruce, just for a different look, but I really like the tone on tone effect, and I can finish this off with some extra bling, which I will do right at the end. I'll probably come back once I've finished inside. So if you remember, I cut myself a piece of white, Whisper White cardstock, and I'm going to just come in and say something about our white cardstock. I'm actually using Whisper White here because I've got some left, but Stampin' Up! Have recently changed their white cardstock products from Whisper White to Basic White. So here we are, I'm introducing you to Basic White products. So the cardstock has changed from Whisper White to Basic White, and the price has stayed the same. We've got Basic White cardstock, thick cardstock, the 12-inch by 12-inch cardstock, the assorted Memories and More cards and envelopes, our white C6 envelopes, the white note cards and envelopes, and the little 3-inch by 3-inch. So we've just changed from Whisper White to Basic White, and the reason for that, if you didn't hear my previous announcement, was that the paper mill that was making our Whisper White actually went out of business. So we've taken over and we're doing our own. Oh, I'm faffing now. I'm going to stamp Happy Birthday inside, and I'm actually going to use this sentiment, which is from the Posted For You stamp set, and I just wanted to stamp that greeting inside. I'm hoping I'm going to get it straight because I'm at the worst angle possible because of the camera. And now I'm going to stick this inside, so I'm just again going to use some multi-purpose liquid glue, and I'm pretty much done. That's our pocket card done. I will just finish this off with a few embellishments, and let's have a look at what bling we could use. Let's have a look in my box and have a look for some gems, I think. Let's have a look for some gems. Oh, I've got some sequins, and I've got some basic pearls, which might be nice, and I've got some rhinestones. I'm running a bit short on rhinestones, but let's have a look. We like a bit of bling. See if I've got some large rhinestones in my packet. Little ones. ones. I think I've used all my big ones. Let's just stick some rhinestones on. Let's get rid of these bits. So I'm going to use my take your pick tool, and I'm just going to grab, oh, there's a larger one. A few rhinestones, we'll pop one there. Just a bit of something to sparkle. Ooh. My take your pick tool's got glue all over it. Really need to clean my tools. And we'll pop another one, I think, on there. So just 3 rhinestones, and that will just give it a sparkle. So there we are, finished card. Let me just stand up and see what's in shot. So, a little bit of sparkle. And of course you can decorate this card any way you like. It could be a masculine card. You could use some simple stamps from some masculine sets, but using up your designer series paper this way I think is just such a fabulous idea. So I'm thankful to Rita for that idea. I love the idea of it being a birthday card with a gift card holder. I also love the idea of it being a general note card. So if I left off the happy birthday and I just sent it, hello fabulous, I could actually write a little note and send it to a friend. I think that would make some really nice happy mail. So I hope you've enjoyed this demonstration, and let me just remind you of the items that I've used. I firstly want to remind you that Celebration is only on until the end of February this year, and there will be no, unlike previous years, so if you've been a customer over previous years where we've had Celebration for January, February and March, and we've had a second release of extra products part way through the offer, this year it is just the offer that's in this booklet. There'll be no further items, no further products being released, and it will run until the 28th of February. We will have a second round of Celebration in July and August when we have the next new annual catalogue. And just a reminder, you can get free products from this Celebration brochure for spends of £45, and I've used the paper from this set. And then we have 2 items available when you spend £90, and that's a stamp set and papers and a larger stamp set, this one here, so when you spend £90. So if you loved this and you really love this bundle, it's just a reminder, I've done ever such a lot with this bundle in the past, but thought it's worth going back to the annual catalogue and looking at, and this paper just reminded me of this rose. So if you love this bundle and you liked what I've done here, and you add a mini stamp and cut and emboss machine, you'll come to, you'll need to add £1 more, then you'll qualify for one of those £90 Celebration freebies. If you like what I've done here, it's £33 for the bundle, so you just need to add another £12 worth of product from any of the catalogues, and you can get to pick these papers for free. And if you liked what I did with the original card, that posted for you bundle was £29.50. You just need to add £15.50 from any of the other catalogues, a couple of packs of cardstock, maybe an ink pad, maybe some Tombow, £15.50, and you can get these papers again for free. So I hope you've enjoyed the video today. I hope you enjoy this project. I'd love to see if you make a card using this style. It'd be great to see your makes, so keep posting them to me. I'm not going to spin the camera background because I've finished for today, and I'm going to get myself some of that soup. It smells lovely, even though I say so myself. So all I want to say is keep calm, keep crafting, stay safe, and keep me posted with all of your makes. Lots of love for now. Bye.